Hello, I'm Callum Dilietto, and this is the Flock Together podcast in partnership with Destination St John's. We're here today at the Shangri-La The Shard, London, and I'm joined by Heidi. Hello.
Hi, hello.
How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Lovely to be here.
You are a member of the SLT of the MC3.
Yep.
It's a big job in a very exciting agency. How's it all going?
It is. I've actually only been there 4 months. So it is constantly evolving, even in the 4 months that I've been there, but it's really exciting. We're growing really quickly. We've got some fantastic clients. It's really nice coming back to a small agency and kind of really being involved in every stage. So yeah, it's fantastic. I'm really enjoying it. It's a great team and great culture. So,
what's it like entering a very senior role? You know, in the early days, you know, you're not part of the tribe yet, but you're in a role that's going to be making changes or influencing it.
It's, I guess, because previously I was at an agency for 21 years, so a long time. So when you've been in an agency and you kind of know most people, there's very rarely a question that you're asked that you don't know the answer to. So to come into an agency and not know any of the clients, trying to remember the names of the team, trying to remember everything is really daunting. But they are a fantastic team and they are so welcoming. And I have previously worked with some of them before, so that was really nice to have some familiar faces around. But they're such a lovely team that it's been lovely. Like, I was so welcomed and it feels now like I've been there forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, really fantastic.
So the first part of the podcast is Remember.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity for you to kind of reflect. So what was your first ever work trip?
There's two. There's kind of two because when I started out in my career, my main aim in life was to travel. And I started working for a long-haul tour operator. So my first official work trip was a 3.5-week trip to China.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was amazing. So we used to do long-haul tailor-made group tours. So I went with a group of people to China for 3.5 weeks, just as a tourist, not, to experience it.
Yeah.
So that I could then talk about that to potential customers and know how kind of have been there and lived there. And my boss at the time was a lovely lady, but she was very much of the ethos of you can't sell something until you've experienced it. And through life now, all the way through, I'm even with events, I'm like, I need to go on site, I need to see what you do, I need to know how we do things.
Yeah.
And then I can talk about it because you want to talk about things authentically, that you've been there, you've done that, you've seen it. So really fortunate, did some amazing trips with that company. I was there for 3.5 years. Then decided I wanted to move into slightly more corporate world, where there was more kind of opportunity to climb the ladder. So I moved into an events agency, which was Universal at the time. And my first events job, not quite so glamorous, the Birmingham Hilton Metropole.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
the contrast. Absolutely.
Yeah. I remember at my interview being told, having understood where I was before, now you'll very rarely see anything other than the inside of a meeting room and a car park. How true.
I love that they had to manage those
Yes.
expectations. You will not be going on a 3-week
No,
trip to China.
no.
But I think you're right about you have to experience it to sell it. There's been a lot of conversation about fam trips and, whether they're necessary, whether they're relevant, whether there's ROI, etc. And I do think that actually going to those places, experiencing those hotels, experiencing the destination, the venues, it really is crucial because
Yeah.
when I think about even the fam trips I've been on as a journalist, the perception I have of those places completely changes when you've been there, you've lived it, you've breathed it, and then to be able to then sell it or pitch it to clients it's a game changer.
Yeah. The amount of fam trips I've been on and then gone back for a personal holiday.
Yeah.
Just because, wow, this is amazing, I've got to come back here.
Yeah.
So.
And you could present, 4 or 5 destinations to a client, but maybe the 3 that you've been to, it's going to be more authentic, it's going to be more...
It's not just about knowing what you can do, it's about having done it and talking about it and that experience. It's not about being somewhere, knowing everything. It's about how you feel and how that made you feel and what that experience is. So yeah, really important to kind of, I think, get out there and see places.
And what was your last work trip?
Last week, I was really fortunate to go to Charleston with EMC3. So we had our US holiday party. So we did the UK one the week before, and then the US was last week combined with our CKO. So my team straddled the UK and the US, and I hadn't met my US team. So it was a really great opportunity to go out and meet them, meet the rest of the wider team. And we had 3 nights in Charleston, which was fantastic. So good to meet them.
What is Charleston like? I don't have any preconception of it.
No, I didn't know much about it before I went. I had actually met someone recently who lived there. So that was kind of a bit of an eye-opener. I was like, oh yeah, I've heard of this place. I know about it. I know people live there. I get an idea of the vibe. But it's really quaint. A lot of people say it's similar to New Orleans, but cleaner and more wholesome. It's, the classic clapboard houses. There's a lot of history there. What was so lovely is there was some sunshine.
Ah.
It was sunny. It was lovely. But yeah, really nice, quaint little town. And we were really fortunate that one of our team lives there. So she was able to give us quite an authentic experience of going to great places for lunch. And, we had a really nice time. So it was really good to have some downtime with the team.
The next part of the podcast is revisit. So if you could go back in time and relive a destination experience, what would it be?
There's lots of places, but the one place that I have been to and I really want to go back to is the Seychelles.
Oh, nice.
So I really love to go there. I went on a work trip and it wasn't with clients, or it was really just to go and suss out hotels. So we were seeing 3, 4, 5 hotels a day, like literally just bang, bang, bang. But it was absolutely stunning and I would so love to go back there. So that's on the list.
I grew up with a friend from the Seychelles, and he used to talk about every summer he'd go away, like the whole summer holidays, he'd be in the Seychelles.
Yeah.
And this was before Instagram and things, but I remember he'd be telling stories and I'd just be so jealous. And I was like, I need
beautiful.
to go there. And I still haven't been. But...
It's beautiful. Yeah, really beautiful.
And if you could make any hotel a home, where would it be?
2. Because, that's a bit of a theme. I spent a lot of my life, so 20 years of my life, I lived in London, in southwest London, and I would really choose the Richmond Hill Hotel. Such an amazing location.
That's so funny.
Your face.
That really surprised me because my offices are in Richmond, but also my first ever job was at the Richmond Hill Hotel.
Oh, was it?
I started my literally... The first paying official payslip job was Richmond Hill Hotel, and funnily enough, it was in the conference and banqueting department.
Oh wow!
So,
a bit more glamorous than my first at the Hilton Met, but yeah.
But it's just so weird you said that. That was like such a throwback for me. Then I was like, wait, what?
Have you been recently?
I haven't.
Oh,
no.
It's beautiful.
It's
just really homely, really quaint. They really look after you really well, and the views are stunning out down over the river, and it's right on the gate to Richmond Park. So. I didn't grow up. I spent a lot of my life in that area, and somewhere that I would be more than happy living. It's not a bad place to be, is it? And then I guess the other place is where I spent the other half of my life, which is in the Cotswolds, and our UK CKO actually was at the Manor in Castle Combe. Never been there, really close to home, but I'd never been there. It's a really lovely hotel. It's just got a really nice feel about it. It's got like loads of cottages, it's really quaint. But yeah, that's another place. So yeah, somewhere that feels homely.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
All the times I ask this question, I do think to myself, where would I make my home? And for some reason, I've never thought Richmond Hotel. And actually, of course, that view alone on the hill, overlooking the river, and you can see Twickenham Rugby Ground in the distance and things like that is picturesque. And obviously the Cotswolds too is beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah.
I think what makes Canada different from other incentive destinations is simply how vast and diverse Canada is. I love the accessibility, cultural diversity, and the ability to create a truly authentic experience. If people want a city vibe, Canada can provide that. If you have adventurers, there is absolutely something here.
My most memorable moment was definitely the kayaking experience. The elements and the conditions were something that I have never experienced anywhere in the world. It was magnificent.
We had this amazing immersive cultural experience. We were looking for mushrooms and for herbs and talking about sustainability. We were listening to music, hearing stories of fishing. It was undescribable how awesome that was.
The next part of the podcast is reimagine.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity for you to create an incentive trip for yourself.
Okay.
Where would you go? What would you do? And which celebrity would you have with you?
So 25 years ago, I went to Sri Lanka, and it was stunning. So I had never been anywhere that was so untouched. So you never saw a commercial kind of billboard type advertising. It was just stunning, and just really beautiful. And so I'd like to go back there, but I'm a little bit scared that it won't be as good. So I think if you kind of did it on an incentive, you could pick all the really great places to go, and you can then do things that the average tourist can't do, because obviously incentives are always that bit special. So definitely would go to Sri Lanka, would probably retrace a similar trip in that going kind of up into the north a bit, not too far north, but a little bit further north, kind of down to sort of Sigiriya and climb the rock, back down to the tea plantations, and then a bit of time on the beach. So it's got a little bit of everything. It's got a little bit of safari, it's got a little bit of nature, it's got beach, it's beautiful. The people are lovely. So I would definitely want to do that again, praying that it is as good as I remember.
That's always the tough part, isn't it? When you go somewhere, you have an amazing time, and then you're like, oh, I want to go there again, but then you're like, oh, but it might not be as good as the next time. So, yeah, there is always that balance.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'd give it a go anyway. And who would I go with? So I'd want to go somewhere really interesting that's met lots of interesting people. So I was thinking, I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I was thinking, oh, Lauren Laverne's probably met some really cool people, because she doesn't really, on Desert Island Discs, she doesn't really interview a certain type of person. She interviews a very broad range of people. So she'd be really interesting to travel with. The other person who I'm not obsessed with, but I'm quite interested in, is Kirsty Allsopp. I love TV programmes on property, and I've probably watched every location there is. So I'd quite like to meet her and like pick her brains and spend some time with her. I think she'd be quite a good companion.
Do you know what? As soon as you said that, I was like, wait, is that location?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And I remember watching it more when I was younger. It would just be on the TV or something. But yeah, I can imagine she'd be quite cool. And actually travelling with her and going to different locations. You know, there's a tie there. I could see that working.
I think she'd be quite interesting.
The penultimate part of the podcast is reform. So this is your opportunity to write a letter to the industry. What would your letter be?
So our industry is all about the people. And I think that it's really important that you take every opportunity you get in this kind of industry, because there are lots of opportunities out there. And I remember one of my bosses from a few years back always talked about having a broad bottom. So in terms of experience, get all the experience you can across, everything you're offered. Snap it up, say yes, work across, get a really good base of knowledge, so that as you move up through your career, you've got a really broad bottom to kind of support you as you go up. And that's always stuck with me, because I think in this industry, people can undervalue themselves. I think to be able to succeed, you have to be pretty resilient, you have to be pretty tenacious, you also have to be able to really think on your feet and deal with a lot of change. You never know what's coming around the corner. You never know. One day is never the same. as the next. So I think that's what attracts a lot of people into the industry, but equally, you have to be a certain person to be able to deal with that and to be able to constantly pivot. And I feel like we undervalue ourselves as an industry. I feel like, we're pushed on pricing by our clients. We often go above and beyond and do things without charging for it. And we forget that we're working for companies who are charging their clients. So why should we undervalue our time and not charge for what we do at a fair price for the skill set that our team have? So it's all about making sure that we work smart and we are kind of valued for what we do, and we value what we do. We don't just give away things for free, or our time or our experience, but we really value that. And a lot of clients do value that, but there are some out there still that will really push to question our hours or question our fees. It's like, we're a business.
Yeah.
We are here to make money, but we also are a very skilled group of people, that are fairly unique in what we do. So I think that's kind of my plea is just value yourself and make sure that, you are valued.
It's so hard, isn't it, with creative jobs or creative roles and versus money and value. And I think it's kind of different but kind of the same. But like, my friend is an artist, and I once bought one of their pieces, and they're like, oh, I can do a discount or something. And I said, no, like, this is, your art is worth this, and I want to pay what it's worth, because I don't want to undervalue, even if it is mates rates or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I remember them being like, wow, that's refreshing, because people don't usually understand, because it's a creative role of painting. People are like, well, it's whatever I want to pay for it. Do you know what I mean? And I think that can sometimes translate in our industry, in that, where there is, obviously there's lots of doing and there's lots of logistical parts to it, but there'll be some of the creative elements where they're like, oh, well, it's just ideas, it's just this, it's just talent, it's just, and it's like, no, that there is a real monetary value that needs to be equated to it, and you can't bring that down and negotiate down.
No, absolutely, and we need to get stronger at that, I think.
The final part of the podcast is a quick fire round.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you some real quick questions, and just first answer.
Go for it.
Packing, last minute or week before?
Last minute. I hate packing. And I'm that person that suitcase stays unpacked for at least a week when I get back.
Absolutely. I think there's an unpacked suitcase still in my flat.
I live out of unpacked suitcases.
Carry on or check-in?
Carry on would be the preference, but I am not that person that wants to be at the front of the queue to get on the plane so that I've got space for my carry-on. I want to be the last person on the plane, because why do you want to sit on the plane for longer than necessary? So there's that balance.
I feel so seen. I am so, like, precious about my bag that I'm like, I will usually fly with my loyalty scheme, because I want that priority boarding. I want to be on there. I want my bag right above me. I want to be able to see if anyone's even touched it. I want to be able to have it close. I want to be able to grab it and straight off the plane again. And I get it. It's a little bit anal. But
no, I travelled with a colleague recently who was the same, and he's like, we've got to get to the front of the queue. I'm like, why do we want to be on the plane longer than necessary? We've got to get our bags in. So, oh God. So actually check in. I'm happy to check in. I really don't want to be in that fight to get on the plane.
I've been on fam trips and I've just been like, see you guys, and I've just left the rest of the group and I've just made a beeline for the plane. But I think it's a PTSD of once or twice where I've been at the back, boarded late, and then they're like, sorry, we're going to have to check in your bag. And then I'm like, I've spent so much time packing this tiny suitcase. If it was going to get checked in, I could have made my life a lot easier. So I'm almost like, if I'm going to make it a carry-on, it's carrying on.
It's going on, yeah.
Airport lounge or shopping?
Airport lounge. I'm an online shopper.
Aisle or window?
Window. I'm very good at sleeping on planes. I need that space and no one climbing over me.
City or nature?
Nature.
Ties in with Sri Lanka, I think.
It does, and I was brought up on a farm, so I'm a country girl at heart, and I've lived in the city and I like the city, but I like nature and
You're
countryside.
a farm girl.
I like the space. Yeah.
Lay-in or early start?
I'd like to say I'm a real early start, and I am, but not only by necessity. I love a lie-in, but I very rarely get one.
Poolside or seaside?
Seaside.
Planned or spontaneous?
A bit of planned spontaneity.
Love that. That's an event planner's favourite answer.
Yes.
Breakfast, hot or cold?
Cold.
What would you go for?
Fruit, yogurt, kind of, yeah. I had a hot breakfast this morning. I'm not going to say that I will never go for that, but yeah, just fruit, yogurt, yeah, muesli, yeah.
And finally, hotel room service or restaurant?
Restaurant. I'm quite happy sitting on my own at a table, having a bit of space. But that's a bit of a skill. I know some of the younger people in the industry are like, oh, I'm not going to sit on my own. But you get used to it, don't you? And it's actually quite nice.
Yeah, I've just about kind of got used to it.
Yeah.
But, well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
And you know, good luck for the rest of your first year at EMT3.
Thank you. Thank you very much.